Hey guys, I am Adam. Welcome to the Vintage Sanctuary. I am glad you are here. I would like to start out by showing you a couple of scarce 1947 Bond bread cards. One I have had for a while, and one I just got in the mail today, and I am super stoked. You know, when you get certain cards in the mail, it's hard to describe. It's just really it's a life-changing experience. And I did not have to pay a lot of dough for these. I did not get these cards to keep up with the upper crust of collectors because they are scarce. Rather, I got them because I need them. I do not. That's what I meant to say. Do not know what else to say. Oh, man, I ought to just move on. But I feel like I'm barely getting started. Oh man, I just took my subscriber count back down to 0. Got to start over. Without further ado, let me turn this camera around. Dough! All right, we have the 1947 Bond bread, Johnny Lindell, in a glorious, godacious, good fest. Now, what's the deal with this dude? Yankee contributor. In 1947, he got hurt in Game 6 of the World Series. But before he got hurt, 5 bases on balls, 7 RBIs, 9 hits, and a .500 batting average. I mean, this dude, if they had had a World Series MVP, it probably would have been him. So how cool is this? A scarce year, or a scarce card from the year where he just dominated in the World Series. And this is, as I mentioned, a glorious, godacious, goodalicious, good too. This card is so nice for the grade. The theory behind the beveled corners is that it made it easier for them to slip these into the bread packs. And then you would convince your mom or your dad to spend their dough to buy the bread so you could pull one of these bad boys out of the bread. I mean, how nostalgic is that? These are blank-backed. There are 48 cards in the set, 44 baseball players, and 4 boxers. Now, if they have the square corners, they're from a later year, and they're not the original Bond bread cards. So these are the ones that you want if you're looking for those original 1947 Bond bread cards inserted in the loaves of bread. Now, this has a little black print mark here, but I've seen a few others of this particular card, Johnny Lindell. They all have that, so I think it might be part of the photo. So what makes this a godacious, good fest? Well, look at that. Somebody took a little tape and centered it pretty darn well. I'm going to give this centering a 92 on Dylan's 100 scale for centering. So that tape should get like a 9. I mean, it looks great. So yeah, I tell you what, a hack for buying graded cards when you've got something where the grade is low because something's going on the back and the back is blank. I mean, is that not the ultimate grading hack or what? All right, what will we add? What will we add to the Johnny Lindell? Another Johnny. By the way, there are 4 Johnnies in this set. There's a Johnny Pesky, a Johnny Sane. I'm not going for the Johnny collection, but here's a card that I really, really wanted. In a godacious, good fest, the 47 Bond bread, Johnny Mize, the Big Cat. Check this out. I mean, this thing is stunning. Some minor paper wrinkles that, you can only see during a blue moon when you hold it at the right angle. Flecks of paper loss, but not much. Really, really nice for the grade. And you know what? I've got to give credit to where credit is due because my good friend Matt from The Card Story, he said to me, hey, on Facebook Marketplace, there's a Johnny Mize Bond bread. And I have a Facebook account, but I never go on it. I had not been on Facebook, almost at all for years, but I managed to get myself on there, become a member of the Vintage Cards Marketplace group. The seller wanted $85 for this scarce card, the Johnny Mize. The Johnny Lindell, I can't remember. I'd have to look up what I paid. I think it was like 25 or 30 bucks. But the seller wanted 85 bucks. I offered 75. So I got this bad boy for $75 with free shipping. And I'm super stoked. You know, I'm building a mize collection. And this is another nice key piece. I won't show my other mizes, even though they're all totally amazing. I'll leave it at that. I've got a light here. I want to really turn on some light. Whoa, check that out. With that light, these bad boys are 47 bond-bred refractors. On the left, we've got the Lindell refractor, and on the right, the mize refractor. So a couple of scarce 47 bond-bred refractors. Hey, speaking of refractors, we're going to change gears a little bit here. I've been thinking about, how do you enjoy the hobby from different decades? Now, some people, maybe all they're collecting is from the decade of the 50s or maybe 50s, 60s, and 70s, or maybe they go pre-war, and if they're pre-war, maybe they're doing quite a bit in the 30s or maybe early 40s, like the play balls, or maybe they're more into the 20s, or maybe they're more into, T206s, T205s, that sort of thing. Some people collect over lots of decades, even up to, the 2020s. So I've been thinking, how do you collect in different decades? Well, for the 90s, and this even spills out into the 2000s, refractors, man. Refractors are where it's at. That's why I turned on this big light. Let's go with light, without light, see what sort of a difference it makes. Okay, there we have it without the light. Still, I have seen the light. Look at that. Is that glorious or what? This was one of my big pickups from the from last year's National, the 2023 National. The very first refractor set, I think, the 93 Finest. Okay, and then after that inspired me. I believe I got this one next. The 94 Finest. Oh, I'm supposed to be bringing these right up here where we can really check them out. So the 93 Finest. Wow. Now, here's the deal. For refractors, here's what I look for. This one's got a little refractor line. You might not be able to see it, but it's vertical, kind of comes, right around where my thumb is showing. It's got just the start of some greening. You can sort of see it on his thighs there. So there's two things I insist as I'm starting to get into these refractors. They've got to have greening or be on their way to greening, and they got to have a refractor line. That's what I'm looking for. Because in the future, people are going to want these with greening and refractor lines, because both of those things are fantastic signs of authenticity. Not only that, but hey, Barry Bonds essentially became the Incredible Hulk. Once he got some vitamins in his system, he kind of broke baseball. So I'm looking for greening, and I'm looking for a refractor line to guarantee authenticity. Sort of like politicians, if they lie, it's a good sign they're a politician. Now, they might not lie. Not all of them necessarily lie, but lying is a good sign. So if they're greening, there's a good sign it's authentic. And if there's a refractor line, that helps too. Look at this bad boy. We got a little greening going on, and we got a little refractor line too. This time it's a horizontal one up here, kind of through his helmet. So yeah, in the future, that's what people will want. Hulking and refractor lines are where it's at. All right, now, I don't know how the future is going to play out, but I'll tell you this. Actually, when it came to the refractors, I decided that I'm not going to worry about the greening. Sure, I'd prefer them without the greening, but most of them are greening. My theory is over time, probably virtually all of them will. And refractor lines are pretty common. I guess maybe more so on the earlier ones. I'm not sure. You can tell me, but I'm okay. I can live with that. Hey, I'll try to avoid greening and refractor lines if I can, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to embrace them. Because refractors are born, well, not necessarily with greening, but they're born with refractor lines. So I'm cool with that. This one is tough to find well-centered. I got this one next. I believe this was $120, which was really, I think, a really nice buy. So glorious. This is starting to get a little greening too. You can kind of maybe make it out on his uniform there. But speaking of green, oh man, the colors on these are just absolutely fantabulous. Can we see all these? Let me make sure all of these are on here. Kind of put them at a little bit of an angle there so we can see all of these beauties shining in all these glories. Well, these I've had for a while and I've shown before. There, that's probably better. So I've had these three for a while. I've shown them before. So where are we going to go next? Well, notice on the left, the 93 finest Barry Bonds refractor. And then in the middle, the 94 finest Barry Bonds refractor. And then on the right, the 95 finest Barry Bonds refractor. If you're a fan of inductive reasoning, you know what's coming next. The 96 finest Barry Bonds refractor. Now, I have not shown these before. 93, 94, 95 finest only had one Bonds refractor, but in 96, they really ramped it up and went for three of them. Now, they had an interesting base set. The base set was broken into subsets. Subsets like franchises, Sterling, Intimidators, and some others. And Bonds had three cards. He had a franchises card, an Intimidators card, and a Sterling card. And therefore, he had a refractor for each of those three cards. And here's the deal. Depending on, he could have his base card in each of these subsets either be bronze level, which was considered common, or I believe it was the silver level, which was considered like uncommon, or the gold level, which was considered rare. So therefore, if his base card in that particular subset, like franchises, was a common bronze card, then his refractor would be a quote-unquote common bronze refractor. But here's the thing. There's nothing common about this bad boy. These are actually low pop. This is a fine 9 that I got for a measly $69, which I think is a fantastic buy. To me, this card is so glorious, and I think it's just very elegant. I really think this is a wonderful, elegant design. And let's check out the back. Notice on the back, so it's card number, if we look down here, bottom right, it's card number 240. So it's numbered by the card in the set, but it's also numbered by the card in the theme. It's card number 18 in the franchise's theme, and it's considered common because it's bronze. And bronze was the, bronze was the level they chose for this particular Bonds card. Now, not all the franchises are bronze. Some could be silver or gold. So, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Basically, if you just take a few years to get a PhD in 96 finest, it will all make sense. So check that stunner out. That is so sweet. Oh, there's something else really special about this card too. This came from the dad of Iconic Al. That's right. Iconic Al's dad has a truly iconic collection of Barry Bonds cards. And then I believe he's selling many of them and then keeping, I think maybe the test issues, or I've probably got it wrong, but keeping, certain ones that he really likes. It's like promo issues or test issues or something. All right, moving on from there. How about this? This is also bronze level. This is the Intimidators. Now, the franchises, I think, was kind of an elegant design. This one's more of, how would you describe it? I think it's pretty cool. Look at that with the purple. And I wouldn't call them lightning bolts, but kind of that, spiral effect with the, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but sort of kind of like a lightning type strike in a spiral effect. And then the purple in between, and the etching. Oh, the etching on these. The finest Intimidators Also bronze level, also a fine 9. Let's check out the back. Again, common because it's bronze. Card number 146 in the set, but number I-29 in the Intimidator theme. I for Intimidator. And then notice it says Refractor. They say Refractor as well. Although, unless you buy these in the dark and keep them in the dark, you will probably be well aware that they're a refractor, but really nice for buying online, I would say, because, pictures online, you cannot always tell. That is for sure. All right. Barry Bonds had one more card. So this is the last card, the 96 Finest Refractor Barry Bonds. Sterling. So Sterling was one of the themes, but notice the gold. Again, the card could come in the theme of Sterling, but then be either the common bronze, uncommon silver, or rare, quote unquote, rare gold, and be a tougher pull. Well, this is the rare gold, the first gold Barry Bonds refractor, at least from Topps Finest. I mean, check that stunner out. Wow, the etching on these. I really think Finest blew it away with their 3 designs here for the Bonds refractors. Notice card 105 in the set. The number in the theme is S14, S for Sterling, and then the rare because it's the gold as opposed to bronze or silver. And then notice the refractor on top. And this card came from Brian's dad. Brian, the high pop professor, who is liquidating a fair portion of his epic Bonds collection. Super stoked to get this one. Well, Brian's dad is the same as Alan's dad because they are brothers. They've had a couple of brothers duo YouTube videos recently, which I thought were really cool and I really enjoyed. So check these out. My Barry Bonds refractor. See if I can work with the lighting a little bit. My Barry Bonds refractor collection has doubled. I have some other Barry Bonds as well, but it's doubled because we went from the 93, 94, 95, which was 3, and now the 3 from 96 Finest. So what's my plan? My plan is to experience the 90s. These things take time. Like maybe, I'm pretty stoked about these Bonds refractors right now, but there's other areas I'm working on as well. I got the Bonds refractors, but then I also have the Bond bread. So, that's something that kind of bonds the 2 themes for this particular video, the Bonds refractors and the Bond bread. So, I'm stoked about some different collecting areas. So who knows how quickly this will go. In some collecting areas, I may not pick up very much for a time or much at all, and then really start to pick up more in those areas later on. But to experience the 90s, how do I plan to generally experience the 90s and into the 2000s? Well, with Barry Bonds refractors, not necessarily just from Finest. I'm certainly not going to complete them all because there's some stuff that's really scarce or really expensive. I would like to have, at least one from each year. I think that'll be pretty easy to do because you've got Bowman's Best, you've got Chrome for many years, you've got some different options. Even Topps put out some refractors, not Finest, but just Topps put out some Topps Finest type refractors as inserts into some of their sets. So, I'm going to have a lot of options to choose from, so I'm looking to be an opportunist and find those cards where, the price is right. A little bit of greening doesn't trouble me. I'll try to avoid it, but I can live with it. Refractor lines don't bother me either. I'll try to avoid them too, but I'm not worried about them. What about centering? I'd like to be at least decent. And just, nice cards, which generally these will be nice cards because they've generally been well taken care of. Generally, if I'm buying graded 8s, 9s, or maybe 10s, although I generally don't like to pay the 10 tax, but if it's not too expensive, maybe go for some 10s. And I'm pretty stoked about that journey. man, who doesn't love these finest refractors? You know, they tend to be low pop. I mean, they're not just all over the place. At least most of them are scarce or not that available relative to demand. So I am super stoked. Let me turn this camera around. Let me just go ahead and turn this lighting off and see what happens there. Okay, and turn this camera around. All right, thank you everyone for sharing in my joy as we talk about the bond that, that we have as collecting brothers. Well, actually, Barry Bonds might not be our bond because he's pretty controversial. Some people love him, some people don't. I look at it this way. I think it was pretty cool to see what he did. I realize that he used performance enhancers and that absolutely made a difference. So I'm not, I'm not pretending like that did not happen. It is what it is. I'd like to see him in the Hall of Fame. I think, but don't whitewash it, tell it like it is, explain the controversy. But I think he deserves to be in the Hall because even without the performance enhancers, I think he would have been at that level. Now, some could counter argue, well, because he used the performance enhancers, he shouldn't be in. Okay, there's an argument for that. But wow, there's all sorts of people in the Hall of Fame then that shouldn't be in for all sorts of reasons that were choices they made that, were not demonstrating good character. So, how are you going to sort that out? But, those are my thoughts. And so I'm really stoked. For the 90s, the 2000s, refractors of Barry Bonds, I think, are how I'm going to enjoy the hobby. But in the meantime, I'm going to pick up cards as long as I've got the dough. A card like this I really need because, these are hard to find. I feel like I barely picked this up before somebody else. Oh, man. I ought to stop now. Take care, my collecting brothers and sisters.